Brenda Carol Ball was born on November 8, 1951. She was a daughter of Rosemary Arnault and Dwayne Ball and had at least one sister. Brenda was a slim girl with brown hair and brown eyes. She was a free spirit. She often hitchhiked and was known to be gone from home for a few days at a time. She graduated from Mount Rainier High School and attended Highline Community College in Des Moines, Washington, but dropped out in mid-May 1974. Brenda had always liked to party, but after dropping out of college, she partied harder than usual. People who knew her said she was in the process of finding herself at the time. In 1974, she lived in Burien and shared an apartment with 2 roommates. On Friday, May 31, 1974, at approximately 2 p.m., Brenda told her roommates that she was going to the Flame Tavern. It was a nearby bar that she had visited many times with her friends. After the party, she wanted to hitchhike and go to Sun Lakes, which was located east of Seattle and was a popular campground and park where she planned to spend the weekend with her friends. Brenda stayed at the bar until closing time, which was 2 a.m., June 1. She asked one of the musicians for a ride, but he was going in the opposite direction, so he refused. In this case, Brenda most likely decided to hitchhike. A person present at the bar that night testified that they saw Brenda at the parking lot talking to a man with his arm in a sling. This was Bundy's modus operandi that he used to gain the trust of young girls. He pretended to be injured and asked for help in packing his things into the car. When the girl bent down, he hit her on the back of the head with a crowbar. When his victim was unconscious, he drove away with her to a secluded place, where he killed her. If the witness was correct and they did see Brenda with Bundy that night, this was probably what her kidnapping looked like. Brenda's roommates weren't worried when she didn't make it to Sun Lakes on Saturday. They knew her and her chaotic lifestyle. They knew she liked spontaneous travel and adventures, so they assumed she was hanging out with people she met at a bar or going somewhere else for the weekend. During this time, Brenda didn't return to the apartment she shared with her roommates, didn't withdraw any money from her bank account, and didn't contact anyone, even with her parents who lived in the area. Due to Brenda's free-spirit nature and hitchhiking habit, her mother Rosemary didn't report her daughter missing until 2.5 weeks after she was last seen, on June 17. Brenda disappeared in June 1974. It was a time when police began to suspect that the same person was behind the disappearance of young women missing in the Seattle area. There were connections between the cases of Linda and 𝘽𝘼, Susan Rancourt, Donna Gail Manson and Roberta Parks, but Brenda's vanishing wasn't immediately linked to their disappearances. Even though she was similar to the missing girls, she was the oldest by far and didn't disappear from campus area. There is no information about the police, family or friends looking for Brenda, so it can be assumed that everyone believed that Brenda was simply away on an extended trip and would return whenever she wanted. If that's what they thought, they were wrong. On March 1, 1975, exactly 9 months after Brenda's disappearance, 2 students examining timber on Taylor Mountain found a human skull. After searching the area with search dogs, several more skulls, mandibles and other bones were found. Victims were identified through dental records. They were Linda and 𝘽𝘼, missing since February 1974, Susan Rancourt, missing since April 1974, Roberta Parks, missing since May 1974. The skull found by students belonged to Brenda Ball. The other remains found at the scene were considered as animal origin. Ted Bundy spent the day and evening of May 31, 1974 with his girlfriend Liz, her parents and their daughter Molly. For dinner, Bundy took everyone out and treated them with pizza. In her book The Phantom Prince, Liz wrote that after eating pizza around 10 p.m., Bundy became nervous, wanted to leave as quickly as possible and made up excuses for doing so. Specialists examining Bundy suspect that his behavior was driven by the need to kill another victim. On the next day, June 1, Liz's daughter Molly was baptized, and Bundy wasn't present at the ceremony. He arrived 2 hours late, which made Liz very upset. Bundy explained his delay with car problems. No one knows what Bundy was doing between 10 p.m. May 31 and late morning June 1, and that's when Brenda went missing. Bundy never directly admitted to murdering Brenda. During interrogation, he spoke about many murders in the third person, most likely to distance himself from the crimes he committed and so that his testimony could not be treated as an admission of guilt. This is how Bundy told what he believed the murderer had done to Brenda. According to him, the killer kidnapped Brenda from the parking lot next to the bar to confuse investigators who were looking for the campus killer at the time. He believed the killer took Brenda to his home, where they had a more or less consensual sex, before he was overcome with the urge to kill and strangled her to death. A partial confession by Bundy is unlikely and has been met with much speculation. The most popular theory is that Brenda was attacked by Bundy in the parking lot, hit by a crowbar and unconscious or dead when he drove away with her. For many years, it was believed that only the heads of Bundy's victims were located on Taylor Mountain. All of the bones, apart skulls, were deemed to be of animal origin. But in 2005, the King County Medical Examiner's Office found a box with various remains and identified several to be human leg bones. For this reason, it was decided to contact the families of Bundy's victims to collect DNA samples for later testing. DNA samples were obtained from the families of all Bundy victims except Linda and 𝘽𝘼𝙇. Her brother Robert wanted nothing to do with the case because his family had already closed the chapter and didn't want to go through it again. Brenda's mother provided a saliva sample. She requested that she don't want to be contacted with the results of the DNA testing on the remains. She then announced that her daughter had already been buried and that she did not want to go through that ordeal again. She said that if some of the remains turn out to be her daughter's, she doesn't want to know about it. Rosemary signed a cremation consent form in case Brenda's were among the remains. On June 26, 2008, DNA results from unidentified bones were received. 4 of the 12 bones were identified as Brenda Ball. As mentioned, her mother didn't want to know the DNA results, so the bones were cremated. Brenda died on June 1, 1974 at the age of 22. If she was alive, she would be 72 years old today.